good evening, and welcome to Equine Voices interview with Pat Cleveland and her partner and her husband, Frank. So it's going to be an interesting conversation. So I shall shortly bring Pat online, and then she's going to introduce herself and just give her a short introduction. So for those of you that didn't see the first part, this is the second part, second interview with Pat. And she's got her husband with her today, so that's going to be fun. So I shall bring them on now.
You missed it.
So you best
Hey.
You best be on your best behaviour.
I was sick.
Right, okay. So Pat, for those that maybe didn't see the first interview, would you like to just say a little bit about yourself and what it is you do at the Balanced Horse Project?
Okay, well, I first of all come into this conversation as an organic thinker, holistic thinker, an intuitive horse person, and I have studied horsemanship all of my life. Challenges that everybody else has, which is your horse either goes, oh, I can't do it, or I'm lame, or I have some kind of reason why my body's falling apart, and it just becomes very stressful for the horse and the rider. And then as a competitive rider, you fall off and horses take you for runs and you get hurt. And I started to want to know why horses give us the type of behavior that we call fear-based, anxious, or resistant. This led to about 35, 40 years of looking at anatomy, conformation biomechanics, cross-referencing it to what my vets knew, discovered that they're not horse trainers. I am. And it's a completely different science, a different outlook on how to interact and support the development of a better horse. So I went into holistic therapies, energy work. I was recognized as an international intuitive, medical intuitive in 2001 at the International Alliance for Therapists, Animal Therapists and Healers. And it just has gone on into holistic approaches to horse training. I started the Balanced Horse Project in, formally 2009, around 2000. It was
2001.
I think it was 1999.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Way long ago in another galaxy.
By the way, that's Frank, my husband. And we put together a herd of cast-off damaged horses that had a dead-end prognosis from veterinary medicine.
We found them a good home here.
And we used them to study anatomy and training problems and injuries and to find out what the core source of the horse's problems are. And it took me into studying birth and how we can reverse the pattern of birth injury in our horses, and how that ties in with nature to create a holistic relationship between the physical, the non-physical, the emotional side of the horse, and to involve holistic sciences in animal interactions with people so that we all have a good time.
And cost. In other words, not everybody living in your pocket. Like you got your money in your pocket, you got fish hooks in it. Because every time you turn around, you got somebody's always wanting some money for this or that to fix your horse. So, yeah. So
we took all this information of now over 25 years of documented data, photographs, foot tracings, back tracings, performance records, breeding records, and we came up with a way of preparing horses so they can go out into the training world and actually learn a job skill without developing injury or even starting their career with a state of imbalance, because we rebirth the horse and we establish correct conformation, and that takes the pressure off them emotionally and you want to say energy wise, because they become more efficient in how they use the calories. but they become more connected with their environment, which sounds interesting. The other thing that happens is that they spontaneously make their own muscle. You don't have to ride them every day. And the other thing that happens is they become connected intellectually with what you're asking them. And also, there's a relationship that's nonverbal that is actually extended.
Their minds change. They get calmer. You see a big change in horses. So
yeah,
someone with a bad attitude all of a sudden is your best friend.
Yeah, that's the part that, that's fascinating. I mean, it's all fascinating, but that part's intriguing, the connection and how things change. So you used to ride. Did you ride before? You used to ride competition. Was it competition level?
Yes.
So before you started doing this, that's what you used to do.
Well, like when I received a scholarship and I studied at the classical schools of riding from the Spanish school and also primarily from the French school. So
in your other life.
And it was great because if you're riding a horse that's not out of balance, it's wonderful. But we have to go back in history and realize that the horses that I started riding on were like in 1960. Okay, this dates me. 1960, 1970, early 1970. Shut up. I love you.
That old?
I didn't tell you?
Oh.
Well.
Okay.
So the horses were different. And classical horsemanship had a greater chance of being successful without mechanical or artificial interventions. Today, our horses have inherited trauma, which is basically a form of transferred trauma from injuries that have not healed in a holistic matrix or a holistic system. So what we see in horse training is the same thing we see in medicine, is that, we focus on one thing. We have to get the horse's neck to curl and his head to be here. Or, oh my gosh, he's got a stifle lameness. And we focus on one thing. And that has interfered with the birthing patterns of trauma. It's made the birth trauma more complex and more intense. So the horses, the more we've interfered with the natural process of developing body symmetry, and the more complex the training problems have become.
Well, sometimes, what was it? Sometimes around in the 70s, the mid 70s and all, we ended up with, I don't know about anywhere else, but I know here in the States, we ended up with a bunch of, politically incorrect. We ended up with a bunch of people that came out, they're supposed to be trainers and they're not trainers. They're just looking for a quick way to get something through, make their money, get it out there. And then, if they got to drug it or whatever, they do it. And then after that, it got to be just this industry of, it's lame. We'll get rid of that horse. We'll get another new horse. And next thing you know, you've just got a constant just inventory of horses going. And then everybody wants to know what I do with a lame horse. And it all started going off the meat markets or wherever it went. And they had to stop. And I got to admit, I was in part of that back in the 80s where
we all were.
Yeah. I mean, in the 80s, it was like there's stuff that we're doing now that if you'd have shown me the Frank I was in the 80s, I'd have said, walk away from it, put the animal down, don't bother with it. But Pat's taken on some car wrecks that were just absolutely, that I've told her, I said, I wouldn't touch this one, I'd walk away from it. And then she's worked on it, and I go off and do my thing and come back, and she shows me pictures and I don't even recognize the same horse. I mean, it's just like, wow, in a month or two, it's a different horse.
So I'm just going to, so there's a couple, I'll just put that one on. So Bobby, do you know Bobby? You know Bobby? I've seen all these changes. Yeah. Okay.
Got the Mustangs, the Mustangs.
Wow, Mustangs.
In Indiana.
Oops. Ooh, I don't know what happened. Okay, and then we've got Gabriella. I love this topic. Thank you for making this interview available for us all. Okay, so make sure you share. So if anybody wants to share this video, because I can't do that at the same time as I'm doing the interview because it gets too complicated. So please share with anybody. And we've got somebody called Alison.
Oh, Alison.
I know her.
Okay. Hi, Alison. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the interview. I'm so pleased that you're here to come and see Pat and Frank. And please share, because that's the one way that messages are going to get out. And that's why I'm doing this. It's just to give a platform to somebody that's very knowledgeable about horses. And she's not only knowledgeable because she's ridden them, she works with them, but the work that she and Frank does. So I'm going to let you. Shall we let Frank just introduce himself properly? Oh, go on then, Pat.
There's a lot of things you don't want to know about.
You asked me about competitive riding, and I didn't completely answer your question.
Okay.
My bad.
Bad girl.
Anyway, so classically trained, I showed 3-day eventing. And then I also showed 3 and 5 gaited saddlebreds. I started riding Hackney ponies and Welsh ponies. But where I lived, it was all logging horses and standardbred race horses. So I come from a mixed background. Then I moved to the South.
Yeah, sorry about that.
And that's where I found walking horses, which are very similar to standardbred pacing horses. And then quarter horses, which was a totally new environment for me. And the ones that I haven't ridden one yet, but I love working with the Mustangs. So I have shown horses on a national level in Canada. I've shown at the Royal Winter Fair, Canadian National Exhibition. I've been out to Spruce Meadows, just around the track. And I stepped away because I was ethically, and as an intuitive person, an empathic person, I was getting hit with this wall of like, what are you doing?
That, and you were busy working on other people's horses once they found out what you were doing. Anyway.
So now you can talk with him.
Oh.
Can I, before you talk, Frank, I'm just going to say, I totally get that about, I think the more you learn and the more aware you are. So when I say aware, I'm not on your level by any means, but when you see more on a wider perspective than just the bit that you think you should be seeing, it does change how you view things, and sometimes it's quite hard. So I understand that, but especially from your point of view. So go ahead, Frank.
What did I do? What am I answering?
Introduce yourself.
From the past to go this way.
Growing and growing.
Yeah. Well, I'm
so
Frank.
you two met. So you've been married 40 years.
No.
Oh God, no.
We're not that old yet.
Where did I get that from? Oh my God.
Oh God, 40 years. Damn, Philip. Oh, sorry. No, we met years ago. Actually, our paths crossed over and over for a period of time, but when we ended up meeting, I came to work for her because she was hunting around for somebody who worked with brood mares, and everybody she went and talked to ended up coming up with my name. And I was not the guy she wanted to hire when she first met me, trust me. And she told everybody never ever, and I'm that guy now. But we met, and I worked for her for a while.
I had a guy come up with, okay, sit down, hold your breath. I had a gentleman offer me $2.3 million to develop an equestrian center in Ontario, Canada.
Big.
Wow.
And that's kind of like, some people just want a Barbie doll house. I wanted a riding a center, So we developed this very futuristic horse barn at the time, and takes you back to 1984.
5, yeah, 84, 85.
And we went from 26 head of horses to 120 head of horses. And so I had to have not just people in the barn to clean the barn, but I needed to have very knowledgeable people, because we had 2 polo teams. We had the Governor General's Horse Guards. We
were busy.
Nice people with nice horses. So I had a mare that had come from England, and I needed a brood mare man because she had been bred. And I really wasn't having much luck, so I tracked him down.
It didn't help the first time she met me. Then she tracked me down. Yeah.
And he came in and he helped us because he had a background from Winfield Farms, north of Oshawa, Ontario. Winfield Farms had Northern Dancer, and there was High Regent, I think, was the other stallion. So they were a top-end thoroughbred barn, and Frank came across to help with the horses we had at our boarding facility, and part of that was a breeding foaling business. So
yeah, but I was mainly in quarter horses. Like, she watched me ride, and she couldn't figure out how I made a horse do half the things they did. So yeah, that's how we met.
I couldn't look.
So yeah, that's how we met. And then when later on, through changes in our lives and all, we ended up at some point dating each other. And then one day she says, if you want to be with me, she goes, this is my requirements. I want a horse farm. I want this. I want that. I want to do horses 365 days a year, that kind of deal. And she says, can you make that happen? I said, yeah, but we're not living in Canada for that to happen. We're gonna have to move. So we came back south to Alabama, where I was raised.
Yeah. And we've been here 20 years. 25 so we've
years.
basically been together since 1991. And yes, we are married.
Do you know what? I'm just looking at the bio. I read it quickly because I literally dived in tonight, came in, and just obviously tried to sort this out. And it says you've been in the horse business on and off for 40 years. So I do apologise.
Not a problem. Trust me. There's times it seems like we've been in it for 50 years, but anyway, yeah.
So we work together off and on.
It's a comedy routine.
And he has a very good understanding of horses' personalities. And he also has studied martial arts.
I study people.
And he understands, really earth-based psychology. And he won't admit it, but he's rather intuitive. But he's coming from the opposite side of intuition. He has male common sense. Call it that.
Well, some days it's not common sense. I got a bump in my head. Anyway.
And then I represent the opposite side of this conversation, which is the nurturer side, the just female
intellect.
I like quantum thinking. Anyway. So we work well together.
That's what my wife says. That's the way it is.
So he helps me with horses when we rebirth them. And there's times that I may need a horse to walk into a certain posture so that we can start let me just say, unwinding the horse, not the injury. I don't care what a horse's injury is. I don't look at injury at all, because we look at it as holistic. What's the horse's conformation? What's his personality? People go and hit horses with sacks to desensitize them.
And sometimes a horse with its owner will behave different than a horse when one of us is handling it.
Yeah.
It's like when you have kids and a babysitter.
Yeah, okay? Yeah. It's kind of like, I don't know about this guy. I think I might have to, I got to behave a little bit. Yeah. But it's mom, so I'll just act up the fool. Yeah.
So.
Kind of like me right now.
I like you.
I love you.
Okay.
Anyway.
So
I'm listening. I'm just trying to share this with a few more people. So you carry on talking.
Okay. So he helps me bring these horses back into balance, so we can work separately or we work together. I find that when we work together, the insight from both our perspectives provides a clearer understanding, and he'll see things that I may not pick up on.
I was just going to say that sometimes we both will see exactly the same thing at the exact moment, and it's perfect. And there's times she'll see something and just can't get over how something goes, and I'll just say, well, let's just do it, and it works out. So
he travels with me when we're on the road, and
when I'm not at work,
and he works on vessels, because if you look at the number of horses we volunteered to feed for the last 20 plus years, we haven't made any money because we wanted to support the horses that other people didn't understand. And from those horses, a whole new perspective on how to train and interact horses has come along. So most people are out there trying to work with a horse for 90 days, 120 days. Well, we work with a horse
for over a year.
What?
It went over, 90 days. No. Oh, wait a minute. Here at our place, we got a horse we'll bring in, and we've had train wrecks basically and all, and we've had them here in 6 months, like horses that are really bad off. I'm talking about horrible train wrecks.
He's talking about horses that would go to the meat man.
Yeah, train wrecks. But
what I'm talking about is when a horse comes in.
Oh yeah, we can get them.
They'll stay for 30 days.
Yep.
90% of those horses are ready to go back to the trainer. These horses may be broken. They'll go back to the trainer, and I would say a good 85 to 90% of the training problems are resolved. Young horses, we've done it 3 or 4 times with horses that we've bred here. We straighten them out before they're the age of 3. So we unwind their body and get rid of all the reasons for avoiding being symmetrical, okay, because that usually causes a pain reaction, which causes a training resistance, which leads to an injury. So if we go all the way back to the birth trauma and resolve those issues before we start asking the horse to lunge, oh my God.
Or before we put a saddle on them, because we've known that whenever you bring a horse in, or you've got a horse that's a yearling, just say a year old, you go and put your hand right where the girth goes, and you watch how that horse reacts. And that's a horse that's never had a saddle on its back. That's the birth injury. And all the horses have got it. All of them. So if you eliminate that as being part of the problem, makes your training issue when you go put a saddle on just so much easier. So much easier.
So the study we did with young horses is we straightened them out. So maybe a week of actually work with them, and then we threw them out and let them kind of develop new feet, new teeth, new muscles. But when it came to coming back in and doing the education part, what happens?
It makes it a lot easier to get in their heads. when you're not dealing with something in pain or totally unsure. They'll get more secure with you.
So, and even in mature horses that we've straightened out and thrown out, who are wild, and we bring them back in after we straightened them out, say 3 or 4 years ago, and we put them in a training program, a mature horse will train up in 12 days.
Yep.
Wow.
And not just like, oh, we'll go for a trail ride, train up. I'm down to over fences.
Yep. They'll do whatever you want. It's just absolutely amazing. We got a field of horses out here now. Mind you, they're our old horses now because we've had them for a lot of them forever, and but they pretty much run around loose like a wild herd, and we bring them in and figure out how to fix on for everybody else's horses to get work done and succeed. But you can go and lay out in the field and they'll just all gather around you and go to sleep standing above you. So it's kind of a wild feeling. But yeah, they're a bunch of horses that you go out in the field and just pick their feet up and
yeah, like
without halters and everything.
For me, when I trim a horse, like most people bring a horse in, put a halter on, either have somebody hold them.
They'll follow you.
Then you have to have the farrier or the blacksmith. Okay, well, I go out with my little Rubbermaid brush box, my trimming tools, and I sit. And any horse that wants to have his feet trimmed walks up. And I'm sitting in the field. And I pick up their foot, put it on my thigh, and I trim horses' feet. Now, that's insane, isn't it?
It would be here, yeah.
It's insane to sit on a stool behind a horse, pick up their hind feet, and trim the foot.
So Bobby's just made a comment. This is a process we are doing with Pixie, a 10-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So this is how intellectual and self-aware the horse is. It's not me, it's the horse. So if we stop doing all this isolated problem solving and go back to the core problem of the horse, we get a different horse. And that means we have a different philosophy on how to train them. Which means we end up with a different product in the end. Which takes us to sustainability.
Well, I was about to say, yeah, it just makes it easier all the way around. I mean, and I know when I say this, it makes it cheaper in your pocketbook, and that's just where I always go. And we've been on this property for, like I said, since 1999, 2000, about 2000. And we've had 21 head of horses on this property, and our vet bills have been non-existent. I mean, the number one, well, we do our own farrier work as well, but our bills are just, there's no way, if I'd have done it the old way when I was back in the 80s, there's no way I could have afforded to have this many horses and be a fat little man. So, I mean, I'd be starving to death.
Okay, so what happens is if you go to the core source of the horse's fear and pain and you resolve it, then 90% of the reasons for everything that we are doing right now becomes redundant. Now, this is not a therapy, and people want to make it a therapy.
It's being a horseman.
This is.
PC. Damn.
Okay.
Listen.
This is a science. This is a science that our ancestors used to use and has been completely wiped out by modern education. And the science that I actually base out of is unified field physics.
Math never lies.
And I don't look at the horse as solely physical, because, and here we go, people don't want to look at history. People don't want to look at ancient writings, but a lot of people want to talk about being intuitive and empathic and healers. Okay, some people actually have a basis in religion. Now, where do you think those people got the ability to survive 35,000 years ago, 160,000 years ago? How did they get to where we are today?
I'm still trying to figure out how they figured out you could ride a horse.
They rode reindeers first.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, the bottom line is that the natural process of interactive balance actually starts with energy. And if you're into holistic and energetic thinking, you come to understand that energy, sound, light, magnetic field, those are your three primary elements that create and hold the information that comes together, the photons that come together to hold the molecules to create the physical body that our science says, oh, it's a biochemical reaction. So this school of horsemanship is completely opposite to what we're educated in through university and most of our horsemanship schools, because they're based in empirical science, biology, chemistry, and maybe behavioral science. But they aren't going to the core of the problem, and they aren't going to the primary resources that throughout history have been known to influence the physical form. So when I train horses, I'm energy, my horse is energy. I'm conscious, my horse is conscious. How do I put my consciousness with my horse's consciousness so that I don't have to be talking to him and pushing and shoving him around? How can I interact with my horse non-verbally? How can I take all the stress points that I can find in a photograph? You take a profile picture of your horse. Go to the other side, take another profile. Are you riding the same horse, or are you riding two horses in the same body? Because those two profiles will not match unless they are horses that come through our program.
Just remember, horses don't lie.
No, that's not true. They do.
No, they tell you a story, but they don't lie to you.
I'm not going any further with that because I could get divorced. Not that he's bad. No. Stallions lie. Stallions lie.
Okay, stallion will lie.
And
Their ears will tell you.
Okay, if you work with horses and you're not sure what's going on, okay, really dominant mares are pretty like direct and their ears are forward. But when
or back.
This is true. But when a horse is trying to outthink you or trying to manipulate you, you watch their ears and they'll go back and forth, back and forth.
One ear will do it. That's the definite one.
Or the hang out an ear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like how do I direct you over here? How do I get you over here? So
it's kind of like a guy with an eyebrow.
Okay. So when we work with horses, we tend to isolate them, treat them as if they're dumb, and that's really sad because the horse is trying to tell you all the time, hey, I have a sore neck, I have a sore shoulder, see my feet, they're not matched, can you come and help? And we try to do isolated treatment and intervention, but nobody is talking about the source of all problems. And that's what our program is about. This is what I help people with, and this is what we bring into the horses' lives. The horses that come in here don't stay here permanently. Well, the ones we took on stayed here permanently.
Good home for them.
But
Found a good home for every one of them right here.
yes. And they've all taught me more than I ever learned going through my personal formal education.
That's
and
true.
they have all confirmed the readings that I have done, whether it's in a Bible or whether it's in the Hindi Vedas, and all the physics that I've done, the shamanistic encounters I have applied to my life, they've all come and been validated when I've applied them to my horses. So we have quietly redefined the meaning of confirmation. We have redefined the management and care system of horses. We have expanded that so that people can learn about their own primary problem and resolve or work on that so that their relationship or interaction with the horse is coming constantly closer and closer and closer into balance.
And we've worked on horses that have had the greatest bloodlines, good genetics, the whole bit. Great, you take this mare and this stallion, you put them together, and we're gonna have this great baby. And then they pop out a horse that's just as crooked as anything in the world, and then they artificially, by using shoes or injecting or whatever, now try to correct this problem. Well, that's great for the horse for just, I guess, the term of 2 or 3 years of their great show span, and then they've blown the horse out, and then yet.
Oh, and they sell them.
Oh yeah, then they sell them. That's the other part that's if pre-owned vehicle is yours, it just needs a little front end alignment, and next thing you know, you've got a problem that you just passing off the next person. You've made your money and you moved on, and then you can come and do this and correct half the problems before or just before they go into show. You can actually fix the vast majority of the problems doing this way we do things. I guess is the easiest way of doing it. Yeah.
And the other thing is that it makes the horse safer. So,
yeah, trust me.
When you go to have your children ride horses and, you go out to the shows, well, if you walk through the barns nowadays, they have these little containers called biohazard containers. And people don't realize that's where all the needles go for
at the shows.
For drugging your horse, whether it's for boxing, for the back, or some other thing to kind of settle them down.
Drugged horses so your kid can show. That's the one. Before the horse can go over the jumps. That was always the best one. Yeah, you got a horse show, in the back, they drug him, kid gets on the horse, goes over the jumps, comes back, everything's all fine. Yeah, the horse kind of, I do great things too if I'm stoned up, it's perfect, but,
And, this goes across the board. So people get hurt and horses are getting hurt. And our message is, if you're tired of that approach to horsemanship, well, we have a different approach.
If you're tired of getting hurt and your horse is getting hurt.
Paying bills.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, pay bills.
And the other thing I got to say about all this, There's several things.
Several? Oh,
I love you.
I thought we had this.
Go on then. I'm going to go on then.
The thing is that if you have mares and we apply this approach, you can do this to any horse at any age regardless of condition, okay? Because it's not about their health and well-being. It's all about balance and energy. I'll tell you that right now. You can say that's way too far out there for the average horseman, but that's okay. It produces results. That's what counts, right? So if we do this with the mares and we straighten them out before they give birth, the offspring have fewer birth traumas and they grow up straighter and stronger. And we proved this on the racetrack thanks to a friend of mine in Canada that had a farm called Kendall Hill Stud Farm. And
Annalise, if you're watching this, hey, I missed you. Anyway.
Yeah. So we proved that the quality of conformation is not solely genetic. It also relates to birth trauma. So if we resolve the birth trauma in the mare that's generationally inherited and start applying that to every future generation on her bloodline, you start to get a higher quality, a better quality of horse.
Well, we did that with from the stallion. We did that with the mare we bred to her stallion. Good genetics that way and the whole bit. We had a mare and we had her bred, and then we produced a foal because the mare was straight. We produced a foal that came out with less problems. As she grew up, we kept on correcting little things here and there through her growth spurt. And then a woman we know bought the mare from the filly from us when we sent it off to be trained. She bought the filly because she couldn't believe the horse could move so good. And what was it, in 42 rides?
She was at Wellington, Florida.
She was at Wellington, Florida, and she was like premier freaking horse for at the show. What was it, premier?
She was
filly?
a top filly in her flight in recognized dressage for young horses.
It's dressage. You're talking to a guy that's cowboy, and I have no idea. So, yeah. So it was pretty good. And gorgeous horse, the whole bit, but she had her brain on right, and she went to work without hardly any problems because she wasn't in pain. Kind of like if you're not in pain, you'll go to work fine. But if you're in pain, it's like pop some aspirin and throw the coffee back and try and slug through the day, and you're still not happy.
Yeah. So our form of thinking is a little different.
Oh, yeah.
The results are undeniable, and it's not about, oh, I'm a healer, or I'm going to, I don't know, just
you don't let your ego.
One thing.
You don't let your ego get in front of the whole process. That's the biggest. Just you got to throw your ego away when it comes to horses, because trust me, they have a funny way of making you realize you have mortality, and ego doesn't go along with it. Yeah, you hurt at the end of it. So yeah, ego's got to go. Oh shit! Can I get a T-shirt? Says it. Oh,
ego's got to go. Okay, I like that. Yeah, that's one of the biggest problems I have with people that they come in and say, "Oh, I want to learn from you." Well, they only want to learn one thing. I've had more people come in and try to copy what we do without actually doing the thing that needs to be done, which is to support this as a school. And the independent concept of, oh, I'm going to copy this and make it something else. Before that can happen, we have to actually make this something that's usable in the horse industry, that is common knowledge for everybody in ownership or riding or training. And so when we go that direction, the idea of having a community of people that are working together to support each other supersedes this, oh, I'm doing this or I'm doing that. And So when we've had several people actually come in, and I'll let you tell stories.
No, because I have a tendency to say things that just kind of are not nice.
But if you come in, and like in the beginning, we had people come in and they thought, oh, we could do this. And
this is going to be a quick, easy learn.
It's just one therapy. I'm going to learn therapy, learning about yourself.
And I have a tendency to, when I see them show up, and we've had them stay with us, that's the other thing, like live with us and think, I'm going to learn this and out. And as soon as they've shown up, and I can look at them and say, they're not going to get this. Not even a grasp.
Because if your energy, you as a person, if your energy is not clear, aligned, without fear, then it makes it very hard for it to show you what the horse is trying to share.
That and not care what anybody else thinks of you. That's the other thing. Because you got people that'll try and talk you out of doing things. Oh, that doesn't work. I know something better, and that kind of deal. Or my vet says, this and kind of deal. It's like when they play the vet, the blacksmith, and everything. Loop around. They talk to 4 other therapists. They talk to 4 other people. And then they come back to you and they go, I need you to help me. And you go, okay, well, we're going to do this. And well, my therapist so-and-so said that. Well, then, you know what? Time for you to go on over there, because obviously you're not going to listen to what I got, because you want to continue down the path of giving everybody your hard-earned money.
So I guess
I'd rather take your hard-earned money, please. Just bring it over here and I'll work with you and nod my head a lot, and Pat will be happy and I'll be happy, and I can retire. Anyway.
I think it's about trusting sometimes, isn't it? You've got to have a leap of faith. And if you want something bad enough to change, you've almost got to look down, not the normal way that you look. You've got to look at things differently. And sometimes it's taking bite-sized steps, isn't it? If you're learning yourself to be more intuitive and more listening and watching and feeling, you've got to trust your own mistakes. You've got to go with your own feel and recognize when it's right, when it's not right. And because you're the only teacher of you, that's where it can become difficult. And if you haven't got anybody around you to guide you and to say, that's normal, sometimes it gets worse before it gets better, or that's normal, or this happens, and you've only got like a snippet, then it's very difficult. You need somebody that's been from A right up to Z and knows all the pitfalls and knows what's going to happen, to say, okay, I can guide you there. But if you don't have that, and you've got lots of people talking to you, you almost go, I don't know what to do. But it goes back down to, for anything in life, really, not just horses, living your life is when you ask yourself, what should I do? What's right for me? And even against the mainstream, or even against what your head is saying to you, it's like, actually, this feels what I should be doing. And it's only when you start taking them little steps that you get confirmation. Yeah, that was right for me at that time. And then we get locked into, well, that's what I should do all the time. No, for that second, it was right. The next 5 seconds, there might be a different answer. And it's following that continual stream of asking and hearing. Have I put that across correctly for you guys?
Hey, the wild thing, in martial arts, a cluttered mind is a defeated mind. Mm-hmm. If you're too busy in the brain, or second guessing yourself, you can't win at anything. The biggest thing, though, is we are so civilized, we're so educated, we have so much information, and we will still talk ourselves out of what we know is the best way of going. And to me, I sit and I watch it. I'm kind of a person, sit back and I watch people make decisions and the whole bit, and I nod my head, and deep down I'm going, just think, they sat down, they thought about this over and over, and this is the best decision they just came up with. And you just go, okay, not my circus, not my monkeys, just let them have it. But yeah, we are so smart. We talk ourselves out of everything.
I mean, I'm guilty. I'm guilty at that when the little voices come in, and I mean, it's a learning curve. It's a learning curve, but the thing is, with your intuition, it's only you.
What do your voices sound like? Because I know what mine sound like when they're in my head. Oh, never mind. Sorry.
It depends if I've had a wine.
Yeah, we have long conversations before we make a decision. Yeah.
Yeah. But sometimes it's not thinking. It's just okay. It's not even thinking about it.
Never, ever, ever do something you have to think about. And if
your gut feels the first one.
Yeah. And if you're afraid of something, that's the direction you need to go.
Yeah, change.
Because everything is put in front of you as a lesson. And the best lessons come from fear.
Yeah.
Now, I lived on a farm. Talk about pioneering.
Yeah, you got gone full circle, haven't you?
Yeah. When I first got married, I lived on a farm. My closest neighbor was 2.5 miles away in Canada in 1974. We had so much snow, it came to the second story of the window of the house, the farmhouse. You could get a garbage bag and slip out the second story window and have a blast. Okay, but I was left out on a farm with an 18-month-old daughter and 35 head of horses on 180 acres of land. And my horses wouldn't come into the barn, and they got snowed out, and they stayed down in the swamp underneath the cedar trees. And how am I supposed to feed them? So when you're faced with things like that, you can think it through, but if you don't trust yourself, you don't trust your inner voice, you're going to fail.
Your horses aren't going to trust you either.
Your horses aren't going to trust you, and you're going to live in guilt. And so I trusted, and I went in and talked to some people in the area. And they said, oh, you just need a team of sled dogs. Sled dogs? So I learned literally how to live without a veterinarian, without a feed store, without any help. I lived on a farm, snowed in for most of the winter, and I learned how to be self-sufficient. I had, and this is maybe the difference of who I am compared to other people, but I actually had to face my own mortality. If you don't have a tree, if you don't have wood to keep your house warm in the wintertime, you're going to freeze. What do? Oh, you go out there and you challenge yourself. And that brought me into a clearness of not questioning what's in my heart.
So always listen to your inner self. Always listen to your inner self first.
I think you have to face your own fear. Now, some people face their own fear when they get on a horse and it bucks them on. Funny.
Right, come on, Frank. Share some stories. Share us a story.
Oh no, we don't have enough time, and you don't have enough alcohol for this one.
Frank is a very, very.
When I was skinnier, I was very.
With that, you could do something about that. The thing is that when he was young, he was riding trails and taking amateur riders out on trail rides.
Oh, I'd love to do that. That's my dream.
Yeah, I did that in Canada.
And he's very organic rider. He doesn't have to know how to technically ride a horse.
Some days it helps.
He can get on horses that I have watched dressage riders beat themselves up trying to get along with, and he can get on a horse, and because he's grounded. Now, if you watch people like Buck Brenham, people that are grounded, men who are horsemen, not horse trainers, horsemen, and they're grounded, they can walk into any horse and work with them. And that's what he's about. He's very down energy, and he doesn't let his ego get in front of his heart. So he can get in there and work with horses that other people can't get around. He can work with stallions that other people kind of get dragged around the yard with. You know, he just has common organic sense. And that is what we need. We have a lot of very, very smart people in the horse industry, but they don't know the horse because they don't know themselves.
We got a lot of people in the horse industry. They got a lot bigger egos than they've got. Then, if they would get rid of their ego, they would actually be a lot further ahead.
I just think it's the human state of ego and having to show that we're smart, intellectually smart, because now science has taken over the position of telling the horse trainer how to train the horse. But science really can't define what consciousness is. And in the horse industry, it's definitely skipped over a whole topic of animal telepathy, and how, even if you just look at physics, how does the electromagnetic field that comes off a computer, how does that impact you? Well, we haven't come to the conclusion that the human heart generates an electromagnetic field. And oh my gosh, we can't in the horse industry come into physics and say, oh, the horse's heart is an energy field. It's a generator.
That's how they meet and know each other. When you approach a horse, horse already knows long before you get to him what you're all about.
So the horse's heart energy field is his radar, like the sonar of a bat or the sonar of a dolphin. And that information, that invisible information, is the field of energy that drives instinct. It's a feedback loop that gives the horse the information to know, oh, yeah, so-and-so is driving up in their car. They'll be in the barn in about 10 minutes. Oh, they had a bad day. I don't really know if I want them to read me. I don't want them riding me today, you know? So maybe I'll just fidget in the cross ties and give them a hard time and kind of wear them out so that we only ride for 15 or 20 minutes. They go home.
Yep.
Oh, so-and-so, my favorite person just showed up. I hear their car coming down the road. I'm going to go over and stand at the gate because I know that I can already feel that person's energy, and I've met them before, and they really understand me, and they helped me out the last time. Maybe I can get them to do something great for me again.
Yeah, we've had them run across the pasture when they recognize the vehicle when we pull up at the barns. So it's kind of like, oh, I think they remember us from the last time. Yeah.
And you see, I don't treat horses. I don't give them goods. Okay. I give them relief. I give them understanding.
With
our
horse training, not a therapy.
Not a therapy. Thank you. Okay. It's
got to put that disclaimer out once in a while.
It's not about the paycheck. They're not employees.
Obviously not. If you're not earning.
No, they're not employees. They're friends. They're partners.
Yeah.
We want to survive together. How do we survive together? We have to find a way to work together.
Yeah. How are we both coming out of this alive? Yeah.
Right. So, okay. So, right. Where are we today then? Because I know before we went live, you said you was getting a little bit frustrated, but I need to apologise because we came on late, Pat. This was going to be streamed to Facebook, so I've shared it because what happens is if you go late, if you come on late with Facebook, it cancels it because we came a bit late. So it's only on YouTube. So what I've done is shared it. So you need to share it, but people will watch it afterwards. So
Okay.
for people that was wanting to watch it, yeah. So if you go late. So I'll just explain to people. I was sat not blaming anybody.
We're going to blame technology.
I was sat here waiting, thinking, Pat not picked up my message, my link. So I rang her to see if she was okay. And so what time is it there then? Have you changed times?
What time is it here?
Hang on. 2:44 right now.
So I don't know where
2:44 Central Time.
We're in Central Standard
2:44
Time.
Central Time. Same as Chicago, Illinois.
Because I think sometimes Facebook, so I did.
I asked the computer and it lied to me.
It lies.
Anyway, so I'm apologising to people that wanted to join live on Facebook, and that's why it wasn't on, because it kicks you out. It only gives you 10 minutes to join, and if it does, because of people waiting, and then it cancels it. So we're on YouTube.
This is Mark Zuckerberg's fault. Okay,
Pick on Mark.
He can't help it. I know, but education only goes so far.
No, it's not. It's because we were late. It's got nothing to do with it.
It's technology. Never we were late. Technology.
So tell me, where are you today? So what are you trying to do today? Because I know you said you're getting frustrated.
Because I've traveled around. I started this as my own personal quest
30 years ago.
And people have tapped on my door several times and they want to learn. And I constantly want to see people succeed. That's part of who I am. And what I have run across is this thinking that because I'm out here doing all this, it's okay. It didn't cost me anything. Cost me my riding career to do this. And I was hoping that the horse community would come together and support this and make it into a school, a serious school that identified the difference between horseman or womanship and commercial riding, commercial horse training, and bring us back into sustainable horse ownership, because the cost of care on horses is increasing. And I just wanted to see horses have a better chance at having better lives. So we run into situations where, and this is not pointed at any specific person, but I have had situations where people are tape recording interviews, thinking, oh, I'm going to get some intellectual property, and not really say anything and go out and copy it. And in the meantime, they've done damage to horses. But now they're going to come back and put it on my shoulders. But they haven't invested in learning.
That or people that have watched, they videotape or they take pictures and they watch, and then they go, oh, I got this. I can fix that problem because I've seen this before with the horse. And then they go and they do it themselves. They mess the horse up, and then they either one want us to show up now and fix their problem, or B2, it's no longer, they go, oh, that doesn't work.
It doesn't work. So by doing that, they're discrediting a whole library of information.
And we're getting old.
That's here, which should be respected. And we were hoping to be supported, but when we're not getting the level of support that's needed to keep things moving forward for the greater good, then you sit back and you go, if everybody wants to be a therapist and own and work with damaged horses, and the dissection of a body of work that's based in holistic science is not acceptable to the horse community, that's okay. And I won't say that we won't teach people but I'm definitely to the point of stepping back and saying, I'm just going to work on horses here at the farm. And if people want to go and develop their own research or have their own experiences, I mean, everybody comes from a different reality, and I have to respect that. So what we have put together, it encompasses everything from re-educating the idea of what confirmation is, to understanding the intuitive, the energetic quality that people bring into the horse's life. And it's powerful because, you know, I get horses that veterinarians have released to us.
Have Sid put down.
We've had horses. I've had 2 horses in my research herd who came in here because they had to be taken out of the state because they were under court order for euthanization for being public safety, which meant that they were
Psychotic
man-eaters. And those horses, you can walk out in my field, you can't even tell which one it is. So this is powerful, but it's not going to work as the way the education system has programmed people to think. It's not about the physical horse, and it's not just about the energy or the emotional horse. It's not just about the physics. It's about the whole thing. It's called holism, and it's powerful. And it is a challenge for people who have an education, a degree, and they feel that they have to protect the concept of being intellectual versus being natural. So horse women and horse men come together and are in partnership, not only with themselves, with their partners, but we're in partnership with the animals that are living with us. I listen to a lot of people, you know, in the energetic world, because I was looking for direction for my own validation. Because when you have very unique experiences that nobody around you relates to, you go off and you look at alternative thinkers. Well, right now, you know, we're talking about human ascension and human consciousness and human this and human that. And I sit back after having an education from a shamanic background and saying nobody's going to ascend. There is no ascension. It's not going to happen. Because in the spiritual world, in the intuitive world, the human ego still exists and still is dictating that humans are above everything else on this planet.
Yeah, I got 3 horses can prove you they're not.
So here's a food for thought. Here's a food for thought. If we're all coming from consciousness, there's a creative universal source of consciousness. And we're vertical streams of consciousness. We're human consciousness. And all the other mainstream consciousness out there is deemed to be less than human because it's horizontal. So you say we're 3D consciousness, and the horse is 2-dimensional consciousness. There is no separation because it's still consciousness. But a human, in our intuitive, energetic understanding of reality, doesn't see that we need to work with the whole system of consciousness. That's being, our animals know that we are the key to helping them come out of pain. Now, what I do is rebirth horses. And everybody
I've just had a light bulb moment.
Oh, good. I like those.
I know how that feels. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But no, but
Okay. Go ahead.
yeah, no, I'm not sure it's
Digest.
Oh my God, it's just so simple.
Digest.
So
It's so simple.
It's so simple. So
that we have to make it complicated.
Animal, human wants to, but they want to keep that there, and you can't, because actually that's got to come with you. Which I understand, but you just put it in a way that my guides are telling me that's it, girl. My guides are just going,
Yeah.
Yeah.
wow. I've got goosebumps on the back of my yeah. I think we need to talk privately later.
So, okay, so let's go back. Let's go, and I don't want to insult anybody if they come from a certain religious background. This is not about that. It's just the fact of history and human nature and the creative force that made this wonderful matrix of life force and intelligence that we live in. We know through epigenetic science that our bodies will self-correct if we're exposed to the right frequencies of energy or light.
If you let it happen.
If you let it happen. Our environment and our science right now is denying that from happening. And the same thing happens with a horse. But the problem is that we're 3D information streams that have past, present, and future. And a horse is a 2D plane, so he's got past and present. But they know inside themselves that they have a problem, and they've been waiting for humans to wake up. Now, this is a personal opinion, and it's also coming from a lot of experience, that people who are intuitively and energetically awake and have done their work, we're the key to turning on the spontaneous energetic reaction that we see in horses here every day, that unravels the tangled mess of their structure, their skeleton, which is an antenna that takes in energy from the environment. Here we go. We're going down Pat's rabbit hole. Okay. So the minerals in the horse's bones are conductive. The water in the horse's body is conductive. So if I can come in there and I can use my human awareness to translate or put in an intention into the horse's body.
Without ego.
There's no thinking. I don't have to have a medical diagnosis. I don't care how old the horse is. I don't care how lame he is. I don't really need to know that he bucked you off last week or can't back up straight. I don't need to know any of that. I just have to go back to the foundation of creation and say, perfection is symmetry. And I invite you to be symmetrical.
I need to share, yeah, I'm not going to share it tonight, but I need to share I need to put you in touch with somebody in the UK, because what you've just said there, yeah, she's working with animals, horses, and she goes straight to the source. She doesn't go to the animal. She goes. She's literally said, but she's phrased it differently, and yeah.
But go ahead.
I was going to say, you really get a really good concept of how we as humans interact with nature, or with our horses. We'll go with the horses. You can show a person that has their horse, you can show them, he's standing there with their horse, point, and they won't see it. But you take a picture of that area on that horse and then show it to them on the phone, they'll go, oh my God, I see it now. But the horse is standing right there in front of them as a live being with that camera, and they don't see it. But they can see it as soon as you take the photo and you have a still photo and show them that two-dimensional shot, they can see the problem. That tells you how our human brain is wired totally weird.
No, it chooses to see what it wants to see. It's like our ears hear what we choose to hear.
Yeah.
You know, and
yeah.
You know, people go, oh, it's a physical thing she's doing. Well, what if the physical thing is all a performance?
It's just the lights and the bells.
Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. Don't pay any attention to the guy behind the curtain. Yeah, it's not there. Yeah.
But if it causes somebody to go, oh my gosh, I need to pay attention to this, then this is where it starts. But horsemanship a long time ago, I mean, I had to read all the journals of the old masters coming out of the French and the Austrian or Spanish school. I had to read them. And they all were talking about energy. They were all talking about intuitive horsemanship. The problem is that at the time these journals were being written was the Inquisition. And you couldn't come out and talk about energy and science because it superseded the idea that God, religion, which was therefore controlled by the king or the pope, you had no business being in direct communication with your creative source. How dare you? So they masked a lot of their writing.
You had to be a horse whisperer.
You had to be, no, don't even go there. I mean, people need to be very aware of the history of the Horse Whisperer Society. That was an economic guild that turned into the Teamsters Union.
It come out of your part of the world.
Okay, they were out of Scotland. They were the reflection of the Scottish Rite Masons. Okay, they have their own. The Horse Whisperer Society got into economics by controlling how horses behaved, and with a team that wouldn't plow a field or horses that wouldn't pull a wagon of goods to town because somebody put tacks in the collars of the horse or dragged a dead body across the path. The Horse Whisperer was able to take control of the economics of the king, the landowner. And so the Horse Whisperer Society became not only an economic game playing group, but they also became very heavily involved in politics.
And we will move on from
and
there.
We will move on.
That's another story. That's another story.
So that's why I do not consider us to be horse whisperers. We are horse trainers.
Because trust me, our economics are not there. Anyway.
And for us, it's about trying to expand people's awareness beyond what they are directed to pay attention to, and to bring you back to your very roots. If you want to sit in on conversations, I sometimes do free Zoom calls to help people maybe answer questions or find themselves. I was going to run courses. I don't know. I put it out there to a few people, and after the effort of doing the work, the response has been very limited. So I don't know whether we will do courses or just do apprenticeship programs where people can come in. It's up to the community. If they want it, we will move forward with it, but we need support.
Yeah. And the other thing is a lot of this is, if you do this style of horsemanship, no, you end up with more kind of, it gets to be really meditative. That's the easiest way to put it.
It is meditation.
Yeah.
It is meditation.
Yeah.
You know, if you go to the barn and you shovel manure long enough,
it's Zen work right there, baby. Your brain just goes.
That's my best pooping.
When you ride a horse it was balanced, they're in natural self-carriage. So you can drop the reins and you can ride through anything because they're listening not only to your body and how tense or relaxed you are, your breath rate, but that electromagnetic field that their body is producing is encompassing you. And so what your heart, what you are feeling, what your intentions are, is actually on a nonverbal level influencing the horse. So now the question is, can you have a nonverbal, non-mechanical, intuitive ride on a horse?
Yes, you can. I did that back in the 80s. except it was Sunday mornings, and I usually was asleep on the horse.
Yeah.
And did trail rides. Yeah.
So how far do you want to take the conversation? Because we've been down the rabbit hole for over 40 years. And it's not that we're making subjective statements. We actually have documented proof.
Mm.
Yeah, I got a room in a barn that's full of back tracings. We've got binders full of photos, and we've got a herd that didn't cost us really any money. So
yeah.
If I'd known how to share, you can do a bit like a Zoom. You can share documents and pictures and things, but I'm not that technical. So getting this organized is one.
We're not either. We're learning. We have to call 7-year-old kids to figure out how to turn the damn thing on sometimes.
Oh, but that would have been nice to see some photographs and things.
So
we can do this for the future.
We're not tech savvy people, and
I'm kicking and screaming all the way through the door into the 21st century.
And to get out and to interact with the horse community and do podcasts and interviews is really, really helpful, because it helps to at least give people a foundation to ask questions, and maybe to come forward and do some research, or to reach out and say, hey, I have this, can you help me? And I could say, yes, send me some pictures, and let's work through your horse's problem. And they go, well, can you do that over a long distance? I'm like, absolutely. Because if it's energy,
it doesn't matter where you are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're that close to having transporters. I mean, that close.
Hey, when I go to sleep, I don't know where I go.
Oh, you go to your other job and your other body at another time. Trust me. I was there last night, and I woke up this morning and went, God, I don't know what the hell I did in my other life, but yeah.
Right, guys. I think we've been on it 1 hour and 20, and I think we're gonna just wrap it up. But I feel like there's loads of, as we're getting towards the
Your
end of
brain
it,
hurts. We understand.
No, it doesn't hurt, because it makes sense to me. But when I say that, I don't mean that in an egotistical way. It makes sense because it's where my mind is going. It's where I'm being taken. But I only have my limited searching, learning, listening. Like I said earlier, you've got to play around with your own intuition. So, but connections have been happening. When you're more in line or more on that path, things happen quickly. Somebody will come out, a stranger will come along, and they'll say something, and it'll take you somewhere else. It's just like zoom. So when you were saying, and I said that the light bulb moment, it's because literally somebody else in another body, your energy in another body is doing the same work in the UK. And in fact, there's a few, but I've linked in with this lady because she's done something with my horse. So I know where that comes from and how it works that way. Yeah. I think
our role when I started, in 1982, okay, I started studying massage therapy. In 1990s, I was studying chiropractics, and none of this was acceptable in the horse world. There's a group of us that were actually the pioneers. And I don't think that people understand what it took for independent or alternative thinkers to step forward and say, let's get a little daring here and challenge the world. I challenged the world to the point where, I've got all this education in energy-based therapies, and I come back and say, well, they're incomplete. But in the process, I had to step up and go, oh my gosh, I'm getting challenged by the government not to do my job. And you sit there and you go, well, what am I supposed to do? Say that nature is not as important as what is on a piece of paper.
And sometimes people think Pat's just mean, or let me put it this way, Pat's being a bitch. But the thing is she's one thing. Reason why we're together is she's straightforward. I mean, it's just she's going to tell you things you don't want to hear. And let's put it this way, Pat is more concerned about a horse's feelings than she is about a person's feelings, because she figures person will either get over it they want. The horse will remember forever like an elephant.
Horse has to live with the impact of human interaction.
Yeah.
So when I started this, it wasn't what I am doing today. When I started this, it was never even considered. I was actually told not to do it. When I started this,
Not by me.
Didn't realize that I would actually have to change the law, especially in the state of Florida, so that the word preventative care could be put in the Veterinary Practice Act, so that the horse therapists and the dentists and the chiropractors could actually legally go out and do their jobs. So it's not the fact that I just, puddled around on a farm and looked after 21 horses out of my own income for 20 plus years. It's the fact that we've challenged the science of being horse people, and to bring into an awareness that there's another side to the coin of being involved with animals. And I think it's not just about the horse and riding the horse. And you can make it that. You can be there. And I'm fine with that thinking. But when you expand it into how can I do a better job, then it starts to become a completely different philosophy.
And how to make you a better person.
And and I think right now we depend so much on science and big business and this retail gimmick and this guy's going to show me how to train a horse, and we're running them around in round pens or putting gadgets on, and we're not addressing why.
Buy this special whatever.
Why
Buy this special whatever.
is the horse doing this? And I want you to realize that what I'm bringing forward about birth trauma has been suppressed by an organization, and it's something that horse trainers and horse owners should know. And so that's why it's very hard for us to bring our work out, because the system doesn't really want us to have a voice either. So we feel like we're kind of in a funnel, like we want to grow, but we just feel that our energy is just being pushed backwards. And
I know that you're an animal communicator. I know that you feel that too. There's people that go like, yeah, right, whatever kind of deal and all. But yeah, it's kind of funny that your animals, particularly I know with our horses and our dogs, whenever you say something in English, they damn sure know what you're talking about, because you're not walking around with a communicator going whoop, 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 to communicate it back to them. They pick up and they understand. So, ta-da! And yet, if you go to a university, all of a sudden, they don't understand anything. They just, go on about. And I said, yeah, well, they know how to, when you point or you say something, dog zips up. As an animal communicator, they've got things going on that science is never going to explain.
Yeah. I think it's something I believe, well, we've all got the ability. It's going back to that, giving somebody just a little something that they can work with and build on that. So it's just bite-sized things that they can work on themselves and get to understand what their communication is from their being or their inner soul or whatever you want to call it, to them. What is it? Because it's, and I think when you was talking about people come to your place and they want to see it and then they go try and recreate it, it's like baking a cake. If you miss the vital ingredient, you're not going to get a cake at the end of it.
Exactly.
And it's not what you can see, it's what is not seen, and that's the hardest thing to start to teach somebody. It's the bit that they don't see and not necessarily feel big. It's not the big, I felt that. It's the tiniest, subtlest thing. But you've almost got to backtrack and go from the, oh, that's a nice feeling, to get to know, well, that's a nice feeling. And actually that's a nice feeling. And take it back to the very basic core of being. And that's just being. But that's another subject. But I'm going to have to wrap it up in a minute because.
Just a minute.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
So this is what I'm kind of getting channeled to say.
Okay.
That we have a course called Intuitive Horsemanship #1, and if anybody who hears this is interested, you can get in touch with me. And I will open that course up to help people with what you just said. Because if we walk down those little stairs, we find a door. And when we open that door, we find a completely new experience, a new way of thinking, a new way of being with our horses. So if anybody's interested, they can find us at the Balanced Horse Project at facebook.com and just leave us a message and I'll get back to you. You have something to say?
That's lovely.
Yeah. Hey, it was nice to meet you, Ronnie.
Oh, you too, Frank.
Pat said I had to behave today, but anyway.
Oh, nice to meet, and thank you for coming on, because I know it's your first. She said it was your first interview, and you came across really well. So
my first positive interview.
Oh, bless you. So
think I could pull that off.
Anyway, Ronnie, thank you so much, and anytime.
Oh, you're welcome. Just apologise to your groups to say, because they would have gone on there and they wouldn't have found it because Facebook would have deleted the link. So only because we were late. That's their policy.
No, because technology was the problem.
Frank, I messed up. Anyway, life is good, and
but you can share this anyway. They can see it afterwards, so they can see the interview. Thank you for everybody that sent in messages, and I'll stay on. I'll speak to you in a second, so I'll take you out. Okay. So thank you guys for who joined us again. I did post this live late due to a mix up in the time variations, UK, USA. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. So I hope you did. Share the video. And like Pat said, if you would like to get in touch with Pat and Frank at the Balanced Horse Project, you can find them. Just Google it, and they're also on Facebook. And yeah, really, really interesting. She's not on her own. I've come across quite a few people that are saying the same thing but slightly differently, and I'm definitely going to try and get her in touch with a UK lady, because I think those two may have some interesting conversations. Anyway, thank you very, very much for being part of tonight's interview. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you have, and I hope that you've oh, thank you, Bobby. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for everybody. I hope you've enjoyed it. And to me, it doesn't matter if there's one person or 20 people on. It's whether somebody listens and hears something that's right for them and puts them on their own little journey. And like I said, it's bite sizes sometimes. That's all you need, just to change something. And it's not just about horses. It's about being a human, because when you start to listen to that, it changes things in a big way. But often it's our animals, because we love them so much and we focus on them. We look to help them first before we help us. So in a roundabout way, it comes back to us. Anyway, that's me off my soapbox. Thank you very much. Hope everybody's okay. Love to you all, guys, and really appreciate your time for stopping on by. Take care for now, and thank you so much. Bye for now.